Did you see this Trump administration officials, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio and JD Vance, hailed the operation a success against drug trafficking and oil theft? Oil theft? What? Are they saying the oil was stolen from the US? Right. Emphasizing plans to boost Venezuela's crude oil output without running the country directly. Opposition leader Maria Corina Machado welcomed the move as a huge step forward for humanity. Remember, like, I don't know if you guys have read, she's a kind of a big Zionist, and she wants to. Yeah. She said if she gets elected, she will move the embassy to Israel, to Jerusalem. Kind of crazy.
Actually, there is a case. There's a potential case for oil theft. There's an argument that's been made that some oil that was on Texas land was redirected to Venezuela. So potentially.
And did you see that thing that just happened with Russia? The US just seized the Russian tanker, and I think they claimed that oil was meant to go to Venezuela or something like that. They say they got it from Venezuela or something like that. I'll have to look it up. But in response, Russia has basically said they just like popped up a submarine next to them to say, like, you know, we can sink you right now, basically. And in response, Russia has launched its brand new, biggest submarine that's ever been made in human history.
Yeah, but that's just showing that their cock's bigger than yours, sort of thing.
Well, that too, and I think they also made a statement along the lines of, you know, they're willing to sink US ships.
Yeah, they make a statement. Putin makes a lot of statements. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen because that couldn't raise a
I don't think Putin fucks around. That's for sure. Let me.
At least it's not going to happen under the current situation.
I don't think Russia's going to make a move because they're still fighting in Ukraine. You know what I mean? It's going to be a far stretch. Now, if they break out into World War, that could happen. Russia, China, Venezuela, all of them side up against the United States. Probably England and Europe too against us because they all want to get a piece of the action over here.
This raises.
I think we've been in World War III for a while now.
This also raises the question of the potential creation of a EU army as well, which is a bit of a concerning thought.
They've been talking about it. That's the one reason why that's why NATO was an alternative, because the EU and the UN, actually the UN was the one that started it. They didn't want to have a standing military for the UN before they came out with the peacekeepers.
UN has always been peacekeepers, and arguably the last successful engagements were in the 90s during the post-Soviet wars, the Kosovo and Georgia and stuff, and they've been and there's an argument to say that they have been absolutely useless and irrelevant ever since.
I think what happened down in Africa was horrible when they had to pull out of Africa because freaking they were embarrassed. I remember that, like, tanks were coming out and freaking people were throwing shit at them and stuff because, like, what was it? It wasn't Congo. It was the one where those girls that were in that school were taken freaking by the militias.
Nigeria.
Yeah, Nigeria, I think is what it was.
And that's still an active conflict. Well,
you remember that? I think it was back in the 90s, maybe the late 90s, early 2000s. So they had to pull out of Africa because freaking, like, they were just completely humiliated whenever the locals figured out that the UN couldn't actually do anything. You know what I mean? And that they ended up almost getting boxed in and bad things happening to them. Luckily, they let them out of the country without harm. Because like the UN forces, they're not allowed to show force towards.
No, they are just solely peacekeeping organisation, right? So.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's actually bullshit, but anyway, that's for another day.
On paper, they are peacekeeping organisation.
Yeah. We should do a whole show on the UN one day. But my cousin actually worked for him. I don't think he does anymore, but he was like an ambassador for the UN. So back on this Russian oil tanker that was seized, I've looked it up. So on January 7 this year, U.S. forces seized 2 sanctioned oil tankers linked to Venezuelan oil trade, one of which was flying a Russian flag and being escorted by Russian naval assets, including at least 1 submarine. This has sparked strong condemnation from Moscow and raised fears of broader confrontation, though no direct clashes occurred. Below is a breakdown. So here we go. Trump's following Maduro's capture and extradition to New York, the Trump administration intensified efforts to block what they call ghost fleet tankers, vessels that are frequently change flags, names, and ownership to evade detection, carrying Venezuelan crude oil. These tankers are part of Russia's shadow fleet, which has increasingly supported Venezuelan oil exports to bypass U.S. sanctions. Russia, a key ally of Maduro, has provided military and economic aid to Venezuela, including air defenses that failed during the U.S. raid. Trump administration frames this as part of a broader strategy to secure Venezuelan oil for U.S. interests, with President Trump stating Venezuela would supply 30 to 50 million barrels of oil to the U.S., with proceeds controlled by Washington. But yeah, so Russia must be pissed. This is what I actually think is the main strategy behind this whole thing, is to kick Russia and China out of South America, because whoever controls that oil field basically, has a really good standing in the future. Because like, look at Saudi Arabia, right? They're like in the middle of nowhere, but because they have all this oil, they're doing pretty well. And I think that's basically how Trump sees it. It's like a critical asset to have in order to weather the storms coming. But, I think Russia and China probably were getting pretty comfortable with that as an income of crude oil. So who knows? There will be some kind of retaliation somewhere at some point, no doubt.
Not sure. I would have to look at numbers there, but it's worth remembering that both China and Russia are massive countries. And they've got
exactly. And China eats oil like no tomorrow.
Also,
I think China bought 90% of Venezuela's oil. They had low output, but still, China could just eat infinite amounts of oil, basically. But they did just recently find some more. So.
Yeah, I was going to say also China's activities in sub-Saharan Africa as well. In relation, it's not only just oil; it's also other materials, just rare metals and
they got 50 million, 50,000 or 50 million tons of gold down there as well. They got a shit ton of gold down there as well.
do some research yesterday, and there was other things like copper, tin, and some other metals as well.
Well, I mean, for that, you got to really do a search and make sure that the majority of that's actually coming from Venezuela, because, like I said last night,
I only did a rudimentary research. Yeah.
You got Brazil down there, and Brazil is where it's all at. That's where you go for the big gold. All the gold's down there, all of the resources. So, and like with China, you know, I don't see Venezuela actually being a part of the big picture, because like Brazil, Chile, those are the movers and shakers when it comes to agriculture, it comes to minerals, when it comes to all of that they're the ones that make the trades. Like if China's not buying soybeans from the United States, they're buying it from Brazil.
Well, it's like the argument of Ukraine, isn't it? Ukraine at one point was the so-called wheat basket of Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously they've got they're mineral rich as well. So,
and like you look at the way Donald Trump played this out too, like it makes sense to me now why he made it so important that drug cartels and drug dealers should be considered terrorists. You know what I mean? Because this opens up a path for him to go into countries like Venezuela. So he's had this plan for quite a long time. This isn't something he just thought of, you know.
There was an argument.
No, I've heard him mention it at least 2016, I think, maybe even earlier. He was already talking about it.
There was a national there was the national security aspect in this, because if you haven't drugs coming into the US, then that raises issues with national security. Your population is being addicted to.
It's got nothing to do with drugs, man. I don't think he cares that much, to be honest. Like,
No, he doesn't.
yeah, there's a lot of people dying from drugs, but you know, before that, there was a lot of people dying from medicines as well. You know, there's.
Well,
like,
I mean, you know that drug
in the US or fentanyl.
Fentanyl,
Remember
okay.
that?
He keeps pushing this fentanyl shit, you know, and the thing of it is more people are dying in the United States from freaking crack cocaine and heroin, dude. Maybe instead of him pushing against China and the fentanyl epidemic, which isn't real, by the way, freaking
and just before all that, even just morphine and like oxycodone and stuff like that. There was like a huge epidemic a while ago.
Yeah, I mean,
big pharma drug.
Yeah, and he just all of a sudden, you know, none of those drugs matter because fentanyl is the biggest freaking worry that we should worry about. Ladies and gentlemen, fentanyl is killing us all. I don't see fentanyl addicts freaking hanging out down on freaking LA, or you know, in LA on freaking.
Well, it is a pretty insane drug. I can actually see why you'd want to control it as much as possible, but it is almost impossible because it's so potent. Like if you got even just 100 grams of fentanyl in, that's enough to feed a whole freaking town for like 2 years. You know what I mean? It's
and then cut it down even further. Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know how. Like 5 kilos is enough to kill everyone in the US or something like that. You know what I mean?
Don't be talking.
And they've seized tons of it. So.
Well, I mean, that's my whole point. It's not freaking as abundant as what he's talking. Like, you know what I mean? There's shitloads of freaking heroin. There's shitloads of freaking opium. There's shitloads of crack, cocaine.
Yeah, but those are our drug dealers. The CIA's drug dealers.
Cocaine.
They're the good guys.
Cocaine
There's enough aspect to this. Words like fentanyl captures the public imagination.